Wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley.
Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
We're taking some of that home.
Definitely not is the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Tiger Ellie Singh was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Because it's still real to me, damn it.
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
they would.
It's Wale.
Wale. I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't. Paul.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them called Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely, and
And then you can listen to us too. We're off to a rough start.
Strap on and balls only on wrestling past and present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Ward, and you're listening to Wrestling where wrestling's past and present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Pulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And today it is episode 80. And like I said last week, we have talked about balls and strap-ons, and we're actually going to talk about balls later on in the show as well. But I think it's only natural for us to talk about One Night Stand. And we're talking about ECW One Night Stand 2006, which was actually WWECW, technically. But that's what we're breaking down for you guys today.
And like Mongo had mentioned, we kind of led up to this with RVD winning the Money in the Bank. So it kind of only made sense to follow up the story. And we had the choice between 05 and 06. And where 05 was the first one, we figured 06 was the one to do. And I think we were right. Having watched this one, I think we picked the right one.
No, I agree. Speaking of balls, you want to talk about blue balls, though. This pay-per-view gave you blue balls for what ECW could have been when it was revived. The whole night they were teasing about how ECW is back. You know, that promo that Paul Heyman came out and cut to open the show. Tim mentioned in the group chat how much it gave him chills. It's true because he is one of the best promos in the business for a reason. He came out there and was so passionate and, insulting. And he said stuff that's still true today about how Raw sucks and this is the show to go to. And how ECW's back, baby. We have a better TV deal. We're on Sci-Fi. And to quote Roland, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, Paul. No, it wasn't.
No, this was right before the start of WWE ECW. They were just going to go. I think that actually the week after this is when they were going to premiere on Tuesday nights on Sci-Fi. And if I remember correctly, it wasn't the first image like the zombie on the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how they broke in ECW.
Weird how this is wrestling with wrestling's past, but it's also relevant in the present. I'm just saying, we had the zombies recently.
Yeah,
we
but
have the same problems with Raw.
But was Scotty Too Hotty one of the zombies then?
No, but the guy who was originally the zombie is dead, so technically he could come back and be a zombie the way Vince thinks.
That's true. Yeah,
that's true.
That's such good shit.
I mean, rest in peace to the guy who played him. I'm not trying to take a slight at him or anything, but I mean, it's crazy to think that like the crowd is just so raucous, and it's crazy to think this felt like an ECW show. This really felt like an ECW show, and they could have made this thing. They should just made this an annual thing where they went to Philly, had some ECW originals come, have some one-offs, have some fun storylines, but no, they tried to stretch it out and make a third brand that became the worst C show in WWE history. I mean, Did anyone care? I didn't watch Sci-Fi, whatever the fuck they were calling it at this point. Like, that's when they changed their name to. Remember, like, it went to like Sweefy. It's just, everything was just in the cards. I mean, the way the storylines were kind of booked in this was kind of like a little, here's what's coming. Like, no, I'm sorry. When Matt Hardy's your friggin' ECW champion at one point, it's not a great brand.
Tim, are we having another whale moment?
I was thinking that.
It's not a whale moment. I'm making fun of how Sci-Fi spelled stupid name.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't know that whale was Wale, so we're just,
Yeah, no, but I know sci-fi is still not supposed to be sweefy the way they spell it. Like, I know we're nerds when we watch like Battlestar Galactica and Sliders, which by the way should have had a 5th season. But like seriously, like SYFI is the stupidest way to spell sci-fi.
Sure.
This is what
I think
this is what happens when we record at night. All right.
I know. It's another late night recording session. Full disclosure here.
Yeah, I will say that I do appreciate both Tim and Mongo being very flexible. They don't look it on the outside. I mean, Tim's working on getting this figured out. Mongo's been doing DDPY. They're very flexible people. So just thought I'd let you guys know. I have the bigger and more needy family life at home, so they have more than that one occasion been very accommodating to me. So I do appreciate that, guys.
No problem. I appreciate you going on my, not making fun of me too much about my whale sweefy references.
Oh, it's in the intro though, so you never live it down.
You're gonna have to add the sweefy thing.
No, it's true, sweefy, because it doesn't make sense. Sci-fi, whatever you want to say. I'm sorry, they're the ones who can't spell, not me. You know, Mongo versus English language, part 36. But you know what? I'm still winning. Damn it!
It's still real to me. Damn it! Oh man.
So we should give you a little bit of context here before we get into the show. I believe it was the Wednesday before this pay-per-view, they held a WWE versus ECW super show, and you've had people defect over from WWE. So Kurt Angle defected, the Big Show defected. Those are the 2 big ones. There'll be more down the line, but just to give you a little context, they've been setting this up for a while, leading into Tuesday's revival. Taz defected from SmackDown. He's going to join Joey Styles and commentary in ECW and stuff like that. So just to give you a little background as to where we are storyline wise here.
Oh my God! Oh, sorry. What? I was distracted there for a second. But yeah, no, it's funny to see, like, to me, and Kurt Angle goes over it in his podcast a little bit. Like, Vince handpicked him to be the face of WWE ECW, and I mean, where it does kind of fit, it really doesn't fit.
No,
because I mean, I get the point. Like, you want this badass, but I mean, he wasn't like a. If you're going to, I don't even know who you could have picked at that point. Like, I mean, Mick Foley wasn't really active anymore. I mean, he was, but he wasn't. Who do you pick? I mean, Hardcore Holly. Like, there's nobody on the roster that stands out to me that wasn't already, like, I mean, you have RVD, obviously. Like, to me, that would have been the guy. But, but Kurt Angle has a story on his podcast that when Vince asked him, he goes, you're going to work smaller shows, so we're going to pay you less. And Kurt was like, why the hell would I want to do that? And Vince actually took care of him on the pay-per-views, gave him extra money on the pay-per-views to keep his money where it was. But it was a funny story that Kurt told on one of his podcasts. I think one of the first couple ones when they started it up. So it's just amazing to think that, I mean, it was, like I said, it's a good idea because Kurt's supposed to be a badass, but it doesn't fit the ECW mold. And you'll see this on the show when he wrestles Randy. I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but it was a decent match, but it was far from an ECW match.
Why did they need to? Like, that's the thing. This was supposed to be catering to ECW fans, but it's just repeat booking. It's just Vengeance 2001 against this, the invasion angle. It's just, they literally copied the WCW WWE angle when they did their own invasion, where they had top stars defect to the enemy territory. And it just felt like Vince was like, I'm going to show that we were always better than ECW. I'm going to send 2 Mycos over there and still kick their ass kind of mentality. And like you said, the guys that chose, like Kurt Angle, this is, like I posted on our page today, like, which career did he have better, TNA or WWE? And this is kind of when they started mistreating him in WWE, where he went from a legitimate contender to kind of just suffering in the mid card. And then you send him to WWECW, to give him star power to it. But really, did you think, because ECW originals tune the fuck out, they're not going to sit there and watch what used to be great, what used to be glorious. I think this paper was like kind of like a send off more than anything. Like, this really was the last ECW. It wasn't the revival; it was the farewell tour.
Yeah, this was as good as ECW gets, I think. I mean, I think after this is pretty much, all downhill from here. Yeah, I think too, like you don't need these guys from WWE to make ECW a successful brand. I think Vince thinks that because Bruce Pritchard mentions it a number of times on his podcast. Like if ECW was so popular, it'd still be around. But it's not just that. They had a shitty TV deal that they weren't exposed anywhere. ECW has a niche, and they have fans. And I don't think you need guys from WWE to make it a successful brand. But I think Vince feels otherwise.
Well, and just to show you how out of touch Vince is, they didn't even do the show, the first one or the second one, in Philly. They were at the Hammerstein Ballroom, which I get that it's a venue that is suitable. But for you to do that, you need to go back to the ECW arena in Philly. Like that's where you need to go.
No, they just figured, they'll cross the bridge. Essentially, they'll get over there. But this, goes to show one of our major gripes. Not only some repeat booking, but it's an audience of one again. It's just Vince didn't understand the product. He didn't understand ECW. Getting into our first match, reliving the whole invasion angle of WWF ECW when it was kind of like their farm system. He didn't understand, or he just didn't care. And WWE is one of the companies that Vince, he's a smart businessman, but as a booker, he relies too much on people. We're WWE, we're the biggest company, people are going to watch us because of the biggest company. So like Tim said, we're the global company, they're gonna need our stars. They failed without us, they're gonna fail without us again. No, because you have it, like Tim said, niche product. It's gonna get over. When they do House of Hardcore that Tommy Dreamer runs, when they do those promotions around the country, this little rundown venue in friggin' Oklahoma gets like 1,000 people for ECW originals, like Sandman, who was over the hill by this point. So it's a draw to the right audience. And you can get casuals in there by building stars and using it maybe as a developmental and kind of having those niche matches. But instead, they tried to turn it into a third brand that just with an ECW label, and it just didn't work at all. And this pay-per-view just definitely shows that, like you said, he's out of touch, and it just didn't work the way they booked it.
Quick trivia before we get into this: where was the third One Night Stand held? The one in 2007.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Jacksonville, Florida. Because that's an ECW place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole earlier today, and I thought that was.
You watched the wrong show again? Is that you already?
Nope. No. So when I saw that they were at the Hammerstein Ballroom, I was like, well, wait, was 05's in Philly? And I looked, and no, it was at the same place. And I was like, I wonder where 07's was. And that's where they decided to go.
Another side note. Sorry, Ed.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say another side note. If you're trying to find this, it's a pain in the ass on Peacock. So you actually got to go to ECW, and I think it's season 2. I don't know. I don't like the stupid seasons thing, but it's the same poster as 05 too. So like it glitches and shows the same poster. So
you're honestly better off typing in One Night Stand.
Yeah,
right?
That I was actually just about to bring up that point. Yeah, if you go to it, I believe you're right. It's season 2. And it's got the poster is Kane, and Kane's nowhere to be found on this card whatsoever. So, but yeah, it is a picture of Kane.
Define Peacock right there. Define what frustration is with Peacock right there. Like, and be careful how you Google One Night Stand too, because you might not get the product at all. You might get something completely different, and we're not liable.
Make sure you use your Peacock to search One Night Stand.
And make sure Balls Mahoney is in the show, so we found them.
Yes, Balls Mahoney is there from Nutley, New Jersey.
You have.
Tim said you've been around there, right? Twice.
I have been to Nutley, New Jersey.
I
don't know how do we not have Blue Chew as a sponsor on the show?
Right.
If anybody from Blue Chew is listening, we welcome your sponsorship.
Yeah,
we rise to the occasion to have you as a sponsor.
That's right.
To be fair, it's not like we couldn't make it fit pretty much every show that we do. Like there's always one weird reference where like, wow, we probably shouldn't have said that. Like the strap on. It always seems to come up. So so it's one of those things where we could figure out how to get it in there.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Well, after the Blue Chew, yeah.
Speaking of Peacock.
The
Office now streaming.
You have to use your Peacock responsibly.
That's right.
Before we go too far deep and potentially get taken off platforms, I think Tim should get us into the first match.
Probably should, yeah. There's somebody behind my computer here, just like going like this, like, come on, let's go. There's really nobody there, but they're like, you're drowning. Come on, let's go.
All right, so we'll get into the actual show. Like you said, we start off with the promo by Paul Heyman, really gets the crowd going. we start off though with Taz coming out, which I actually thought this was a great way. You have one of the most popular ECW originals ever come out. He's taking on Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler comes out. He's been teasing he's been doing the whole extremely crappy wrestling gimmick, which he used to do back in I think '97 when he came to Hardcore Haven and took on Tommy Dreamer. He comes out, slaps Joey Styles, gets in the ring. Joey Styles jumps on his back. He goes to go put Joey in a pile driver. Taz locks into the Taz mission, and that's your match. So it's a squash match. Taz, I don't think really could wrestle a full match here, so that's why they kept it as short as it was. But I think it served its purpose. You have, two guys synonymous with ECW leading off the charge here at One Night Stand. You have Joey Styles and Taz. So I think it served its purpose. And yeah, like Taz couldn't wrestle a full match. So I think they, did a nice job, getting Taz involved without having to do too much.
Well, and how do you follow up Paul Heyman? I mean, Paul cuts that promo, and I think it was the right way because it was quick. It got the point across, and it got the fans fired up. It kept them going from the Paulie thing to the Taz spot. And like you said, he just wasn't with his neck. He just wasn't physically able to go, and which is one of the reasons why a lot of people were hoping when he went to TNA after this that he was going to get involved. And it's like he can't. He physically can't. So I don't know. If it had been 5 years later, if he'd be like Edge, where like maybe he could come back. But I don't know what type of injury he had, if it's similar to Edge's or not. But it was a smart way to go with it, and the fans loved it.
You're right. It goes to show you, this is why I'm always going to be a big fan of ECW. What these guys put themselves through is, with the matches that Taz has Sabu, like some of the ones we've covered, or just some of the matches in general. I mean, I can't imagine that his neck is probably in any good shape anyway with some of the bumps they take. And he, he's a smaller guy, but he's a strong dude. So he would launch people in the ring. He would get launched on the ring. So I think you're right. I think even if he had a chance to come back, I don't think he could, because I think his body's just that damaged. And I think he's smart. He became a good commentator. He's commentated on all three major brands, which is not too many people can say that they've called TNA, WWE, and AEW. Like, that's pretty impressive. And his dark commentary is hilarious. If you don't get a chance to watch YouTube Dark, him and Excalibur have some great, like, just banter. It feels natural. It doesn't feel like someone's in his ear, like Vince's in his ear, like, don't call it a belt. The belt's to hold up your pants, pal. Like, he gets to be himself. And one little fun fact, if you guys notice, this is one of the first times I think I've ever seen a WWE match where the arm drops 3 times in the end of the match.
Yeah. They
always tease. They always get to 2. And it's always like the Hulk out one where they're shaking their arm, like, no, or they put the no finger, like, no. But his arm actually dropped. That's why I think I remember this match more is, wow, they follow through the arm dropping 3 times to end the match for him being choked out, but they never pull that off. They always just tease it.
Yeah, no, that is noteworthy, I think. Next up, we kind of teased this match a little bit earlier on. You have Kurt Angle and Randy Orton here in a singles match. It's not ECW rules or Extreme Rules or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, just the whole thing with Kurt Angle just seemed really out of place to me. I mean, he just does not fit the ECW mold. And to have this match with Randy Orton, you put this match anywhere else, I think it's going to be a classic match. But in this arena with the crowd going, I know they were behind Kurt in this match, but it just seems so out of place. And this could have been a hint that this product of ECW is really going to be influenced by WWE. It's going to be another WWE brand. I think this was your first indication of that. I thought the match itself was decent. The crowd, I think, made the match. I think the crowd made the match better than it was. But it wasn't like a barn burner that I expected from these guys. And again, I think a lot of that has to do with the environment it was in. Well,
and to me, like, how do you have an ECW pay-per-view and not have all the matches be Extreme Rules? Like, why do you have to announce that, the Mick Foley, Edge, Dreamer, Funk thing is under Extreme Rules? It's like the fucking pay-per-view is named Extreme Rules. Like, it's one night only, it's ECW. Like that, like what? Like, so I mean, like you said, it sums up the cartoony WW of the WWE ECW. And I mean, like you said, it wasn't a bad match. It just, the fans after a little while got tired of it. I know there was some interesting chance of Randy sucking male appendages and stuff like that in the match, itself. And it was like I said, it was a good match. They also had a good finish with the ankle lock, and saying he's going to break his ankle, and so that part was pretty cool. But it was anything but Extreme Rules. Like this whole show should have been what it was supposed to be. It should have been under Extreme Rules. That's the point of One Night Only, is to go away from the WWE cartoony bullshit product they had and go more extreme. And it was on pay-per-view. So what do you have to lose at that point? Nothing.
And you're right. They built this, like Tim mentioned earlier, they had that Wednesday Battle Royal and, WWE versus ECW mega show. And they're teasing that this is the revival. Like, ECW's back. Like, we're not playing around. And then you throw a match that could have been on like SummerSlam or Vengeance or really anywhere else. And like you said, we both said it would have been a great match. And both, performers are good, but like you both said, the crowd took it over because they were hot. And I think they were trying to end the match. I mean, there's a chance that if we repeat, we probably won't be, streaming as much anymore, because there was some pretty brutal chants. And even after, he tapped out, he's getting the two refs carried him off, and they're calling him a female cat basically as he's being walked out, like, you tapped out, and flipping him off. And it's just, you almost kind of feel for the WWE wrestlers, because some of them probably hadn't been in that environment before, so they're probably like, what the hell is this? But I will say that my favorite thing in this whole thing, if you want to just enjoy something, the crowd. This is a wrestling crowd. Like, this is the ECW crowd. This is the crowd that it's like going to a Yankees Red Sox game in Yankee Stadium. Like, someone's getting hit with a battery and stabbed on the way out. Like, this is a really violent crowd.
Speaking of that, did you guys see the viral video of the lady fighting the second graders?
Yeah.
Speaking, I know it's totally off topic, but the lady's doing the L loser sign and swearing at these 10-year-old kids. It's like, what the hell?
The best line of the whole thing is when she says 27 rings, and the guy in the background, you were alive for 3. So even if you're not a sports fan, you got to watch it, because she's berating these kids, and these kids are taking it like champs. They're not being rude or disrespectful. They're just like, what's this lady's problem? And then you just hear the spectators in the background who are filming like, shut up. But you make a good point. Good segue. That was a fun video.
She also came out and said that she was just messing with them. It's like, you don't go that hard if you're just messing with somebody. She might try to be covering it up that way, but she was trying to be a badass to 10-year-old kids. So stay classy, New York. Stay classy. If anybody listens there, I apologize. I probably assume that not all of you are like that, but if this is someone or whatever, I'm sorry.
Right. No, I mean, I've been to some wrestling shows in Boston. We've had some fans represent us pretty poorly too. My favorite, to keep on topic, is we went to a house show for WWE at the TD Garden, and we were in line getting food, and this lady comes by, and all I remember is she was a huge Hulk Hogan fan, because she had her whole self decked out, the fake mustache, fake blonde hair. I think I was just wearing the event t-shirt, and she walked by, and I kind of snickered, because it didn't look good, but I wasn't trying to make fun of her. And she just turned around in the drunkest, most Boston accent ever. What you looking at, guy? You want to come over here and brawl with the Hulkster? I was like, no, I'm good, lady. You can go sit down.
I don't want anything to do with your 6-inch pythons, lady. Just go do whatever you're doing, and go have another beer, sit down, take a nap, whatever.
And to appease our boss fans, she went wicked hard, guy.
Probably too hard.
Yeah.
Hey, we're teetering on getting kicked off again.
Well, Tim, you're the guy that's supposed to reel this thing in, so
yeah,
it's on you.
I'm just trying to make sure we don't have to talk about the FBI match coming up, because that was definitely missable.
At least this match represented ECW, though. I mean, these are all ECW guys in this match.
That's true.
You have that. You have the FBI, Little Guido, and Tony Mamaluke with Big Guido getting a win over Super Crazy and Tajiri in about 12 and a half minutes. Yeah, like you said, this match just kind of there for me. I honestly don't remember a whole lot about it. I remember I never saw Big Guido before. I don't think. I don't remember him ever, watching him before. I think most noteworthy thing is the Big Show comes out, after this and destroys everybody. But that's about it. This match was just kind of there.
They had the cool spot where they did the double tarantula. That was pretty cool.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, there was, little Guido, Nunzio, whatever you want to call him. I think he's like the Cesaro, like pound for pound. He is like, this is one of the things I wanted to bring up too before we go away from this match. They mentioned that he's 5'7" and he has size 12 boots, and that it must make his wife happy. And then Taz goes, without missing a beat, and this is a quote from Taz, so don't get mad at us, folks. It's on the pay-per-view. Taz goes, yeah, it's either that or she walks with a limp. It's like, oh, man. It's like, oh, Taz, what are you doing? But yeah, that was the most memorable part of that match. Sorry. But yeah, no, some of the WWE people would know Little Guido as Nunzio and whatnot. But yeah, it wasn't this match was more ECW than the match before this. And
I would agree with that, yeah.
It wasn't even that good.
But where do you put this match? Like, can you imagine having that promo by Paul Heyman and then this comes on? That crowd would have eaten you alive. So this one kind of had to be where it was.
The crowd was definitely over for Super Crazy and Tajiri, though. So, I mean, I think that might have saved it a little bit. Like, it wasn't like it was the full-blooded Italians against the full-blooded Italians. Like, it was like people that were like fence. Like, at least they were hot. They liked Super Crazy and they liked Tajiri. So, I mean, that helped. And sorry to cut you off, Mongo, but that's a good point, is that, like, yeah, if this had followed Paul Heyman, people probably would have been like, well, what the fuck is this? Like, they would have been like, this is stupid.
I mean, I like Tajiri, so anytime I get to see a Tajiri match, I'm happy because I like the tarantula. It's one of my favorite moves he does. I love when people wrap them up because I just like the skill behind it. And his kicks actually look like he's kicking you in the head. Like, it doesn't look like he's missing you by a mile and slapping his arm or slapping his leg. No, it looks like he's taking his boot and kicking you in the temple. And when he does the green mist and just his mannerisms, and it's kind of cool because he kind of pops up in WWE now and then, but I don't think he ages. Like, I just want to put, he was in ECW in the early 90s, and this is 10 years from his ECW run, he still looked the same. Like, it's crazy to me. And Tim, to kind of go back on your point, Big Guido was Little Guido's little brother, to confuse you.
It's too bad too that they couldn't get Tracy Smothers to come back for this too, to make it a full FBI reunion. Next up is an Extreme Rules match for the World Heavyweight Championship. You have Rey Mysterio and Sabu. This is a great match, but it's remembered for that wicked DDT through the table, and then some random dude just comes in and says that the match is over. So, like, an ECW match should never end in no contest. These two people can't continue. Like, it just doesn't make, unless they legitimately can't continue. But, like, if it's kayfabe, no, there should be a winner. So I hated the ending to this because I think this match could have been really something special.
You're talking about the company that, like, 15, 14 years later had a Hell in a Cell match end by.
That's true.
So, like, it's par for the course. But, yeah, you wonder what this match could have been had it been booked slightly differently. Like, you didn't have to, you wonder if it was booked differently, and then they had to call an audible. I mean, the guys legitimately seemed like they could have been hurt. I mean, I don't know. It probably was a work, but I don't know. So you wonder, if it was supposed to be different and they called an audible, or if they booked it that way. You wonder what it would be if they had booked it to have a finish. Because Sabu, for what he is, you don't have to protect Sabu. Like, Sabu can lose and it's not going to hurt. He's still going to come out with a damn turban on his head and point and do all this stuff, and people are going to go nuts. So it's not like you're going to hurt Sabu's character if you beat him. But, it's another one of those matches where at least it was an Extreme Rules match, and at least Rey Mysterio had a little bit of a connection from being there before. So he was there for, like, Taz and a cup of coffee before Bischoff plucked him to WCW. But it's just, it's a shame if this is how they booked it. It's a shame. And then if somebody got hurt, it's also a shame because, like Tim said, I don't even know who that guy was. Was it supposed to be a doctor? Was it supposed to be the New York City Athletic Commission. I thought that might have been what it was too. The guy coming out to check, like saying, "Hey, we can't. Like they're really hurt. We can't." They never even acknowledged who the guy was on the broadcast. I don't know.
I found his name.
Okay, good.
His name is Dr. Ferdinand Rios.
Oh, nice.
Is he related to S.A. Rios?
I don't know. Or Franz Ferdinand. I don't know.
There you go. Ferdinand Magellan. I don't know. That's the weirdest like European Mexican name I've ever heard in my life. Like, you think like Ferdinand, you think of like someone like an explorer from like overseas, and then you think of like Rios, you think of S.A. Rios, so you think of like a Mexican guy or a Spanish guy. I mean, to be more political correct, I guess. But it's a shame that this is how the match ended. I hope, me personally, I hope that they didn't book it this way. I hope that like they're like, oh, someone got their bell rung, we got to call it. But it seemed like they booked it this way. And again,
from what I read online, that it was kayfabe, but nobody was legitimately, hurt.
Well, and you would think too, like, so if you're going to kayfabe it, why wouldn't you have someone carried out on a stretcher or something, like instead of so that's why I thought that it realistically probably was a work. But it's a shame because, like I said, you could have had Mysterio win and it wouldn't have hurt Sabu one iota. Like it wouldn't have mattered. Like Sabu would still be over to the ECW crowd.
You mean to tell me that Botchamania's #1 star Sabu wouldn't have gotten hurt by taking a loss in this match? But no, like, the one thing I thought it was a shoot too, because when he kind of goes up on that rope and he jumps, the table kind of slides. So I thought, oh, did the table move off the apron? And because it kind of looked like they both planted their skulls, and they kept alluding to Sabu have broken his neck before, and he broke his neck again. And another fact, they also said hospital, which Vince hates saying hospital. It's always local medical facility.
Yeah.
So
they also said wrestler throughout the show too.
I know. It's nice to hear wrestling terms on WWE pay-per-view.
Yeah.
ECW, you have to, W stands for wrestling, not superstar.
Well, so are the two first letters in WWE, but those are more ignored than the fans are.
It stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. See, that's the out. That's the out. It's entertainment, pal.
Yes, but the second letter still stands for wrestling. Again, it's more ignored than the fans are. But of course, then again, we make movies, pal.
See, there you go. That's the thing.
True.
If Vince could get rid of like when they did the get the F out, I'm surprised they didn't get the second W out and call it like
They're the Wii Network.
With World Entertainment Federation.
Well, I'm pretty sure if Raw's ratings continue and they go below 1 million again, I'm sure USA is not going to want to keep paying them for that product.
And speaking of Raw, I remember I messaged both of you guys. It's weird to see Bobby Lashley kind of like reprising the Godfather's role, having all these like women with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like a weird thing.
I don't.
How does
I
Lana
don't
feel
get
about
Vince.
that? I mean, she was just released. She's still married to Lashley and Miro. I mean, I don't. There's just so much going on. I don't know.
Can't keep up with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
But
I feel
Matt
bad.
Riddle must be happy because marijuana is now a allowed substance. It's no longer on the banned substance list for WB on their wellness test. So Matt Riddle and RVD are both going to be super happy and super high every episode now.
RVD's like, man, I wish that had. So like, here's another like deep dive, and again, we're getting a little bit off topic, but it's also topical. After RVD wins the title here, he ends up getting stripped of both titles because he got arrested for marijuana.
Yeah, but there's a lot more than just marijuana in the vehicles.
I'm just saying, like, that was the, and Sabu was with him too. So, like, how much of whatever was in there was Sabu's, but whatever. But everybody knew he smoked pot. Like, and that's the thing. Like, everybody knows Riddle's a fucking burnout. Like, you could look at him. Like, I mean, is he a good athlete and stuff? Yeah. But, I mean, if he's not a legitimate burnout, he plays a great one. Put it that way.
And that's the thing. Like, look what they put their bodies through. Like, let them have some CBD. Let them have a joint. Let them enjoy it, because you know what, these people put their bodies through some shit. Like, going back to this match, like some of the spots that Ray and Sabu did, like I could see why Sabu's a pothead. I could see why he would find other things, because I couldn't imagine the constant pain that they must be in, because they're not just hitting, the memory foam on the ring with the 2x4. They're hitting the outside where the padding is like an inch thick. So like it's not even, like thicker than the sole of your shoe. and then it's just concrete because half these arenas are hockey arenas, so they have to have concrete for the ice. So it's not like it's a forgiving surface.
Right. Well, and then like there was a spot in this match where Sabu jumped up and was going to do a move off the ropes, and he like slipped.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Surprisingly,
yeah, well, yeah, but it was just so that also led to like, well, did like you said, Mongo, was it an issue where something was botched because he had been they botched a spot where Ray was supposed to run at him. Ray like stopped and then started again, and then it was funny because the crowd caught it and they chanted the "you fucked up" chant because they could tell it was off. So it definitely made you wonder if it was a shoot or a work.
I will say this is probably because this run by Sabu, unfortunately, I think really emphasized that he maybe shouldn't have been featured on primetime as much. I'm not saying he's not talented, but he does a lot of risks. And unfortunately, with a lot of these high risk spots, if they're not pulled off right, they're going to look sloppy. And one of the big, issues I've personally always had with Sabu, besides him being a tool to the fans, which I can get into, is he would mess his spots up. SummerSlam 2006, he would have that match with the Big Show where he'd set the table up and he'd like fall off the table as he's trying to set up and then do this awkward bump to try to save it. It's like, it looks worse that you just like ghost bumped. And I don't know. I appreciate what Sabu did, but it just shows like all the different, botches in this. And my joke about him being on Botch Man is true. Like, just go look at something. He tries these high risks, and it's like, you don't need to do all these crazy jumping out of the ring spots. You can still be hardcore. You can still be extreme. You can still wrestle. Keep yourself a little more grounding. And you broke your neck. You think you'd want to slow it down a little bit. Like, we don't want you in a wheelchair, dude.
Before we move on, I do want to mention we forgot the JBL promo after the FBI match. He comes out, discusses a scathing promo how the ECW sucks and the show sucks and everything. I thought, and he brings up the whole incident with the Blue Meanie the year before, and references that, which I thought was awesome. If you don't know what that, there was a big scrum and he legitimately busted the Blue Meanie open. The Blue Meanie, didn't like it too much. We'll just say it that way.
Yeah, he potatoed the shit out of him.
Yeah. So, but it's a great promo. He, definitely go back and watch it. It's pretty entertaining.
Well, it's funny. He mentioned that he was from New York or whatever, and then Taz is like, he's from Texas. But yeah, and then he called Taz out in the promo too. Like, you're leaving for SmackDown for ECW. Like, that's gonna work out well for you and all this stuff. Yeah, no, it was definitely a very topical promo, and that's the stuff that, like, especially now. And even then, when they tried to redo the ECW, that's the stuff that WWE misses. They're on topic on the dumb shit, and they're off topic on the stuff they should be on topic for. I know that kind of, like, if you think about how that's worded, you're like, what the fuck's he talking about? Well, there's certain things where, like, there's stuff going on in the world, or like stuff going on in the wrestling world that they cover. And it's like, why are you covering that when you should be covering this? And it seems to always happen that way. And it's just unfortunate.
I can't agree enough, because my biggest complaint with some of the current product today is, let the wrestlers cut the promos. These wrestlers work on the indies. They work with coaches. They work on how to cut a promo. That's one of the big part of wrestling is you have to go in the ring and you have to be able to talk on the stick. Like, they work at this craft. Like we talked about Eddie Kingston, CM Punk, Jericho, all these great talkers. They don't always have to be 100% have 5-star matches every night, but if they can talk and they can talk shit, or they can be a good baby face, it's going to make you care about the character. It's going to make you invest. And like you said, this was a fire promo by JBL. He, again, going back to his invasion, him making fun of, ECW, him bringing up the fact that he legitimately, potatoed the shit out of Blue Meanie and busted his nose the year before, and kind of made fun of it. Like, oh, you guys call me a bully. Guess what? I am. And that's what they need. Like, yes, you have writers, but why don't you give them bullet points? Like the running joke that The Rock wrote bullet points on his arm once. You know what? Give them bullet points and let them work their magic. I don't care if you have to script out bullet points. Like, hey, I need you to hit A, B, C. Go for it. Because you know what? You're going to get more realism and you're going to get more passion in the promo versus when you can tell they're reading a scripted promo and it sounds robotic.
Yeah, no. Next up is an intergender Extreme Rules match. You have Edge, Lita, and Mick Foley getting a win over Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and Beulah McGillicuddy. Edge and Foley teamed up here after their classic WrestleMania match and they became the hardcore champions and everything. This was a little weird for me to see Mick Foley as a heel here. Not, because he's Mick Foley, he's not Mankind, he's not Dude Love. It's just it was just weird for me to see it. And he tries to cut this promo, a heel promo. It just didn't work for me. But the actual match itself, I was really entertained by it. I thought it was cool to see Terry Funk in the match. He was 63 at this pay-per-view. I was really entertained. You have the barbed wire spots and everything. Was it the greatest match in the world? No, it wasn't, but it was entertaining. The crowd was in it. Edge gets the cheap heat with the spear on Beulah and covers her in this, really provocative way. Wikipedia has an interesting description of that pin if you go to it. But I was really entertained by this one, and I think it served its purpose.
This was the most ECW thing on the ECW pay-per-view.
Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing even close. And it was supposed to be just a tag match. And then, Beulah came out with Tommy Dreamer, who, for those of you who don't know, is actually Tommy Dreamer's wife.
One of them.
Yeah, weird situation there. He has a spouse and then a partner, and we'll whatever. We'll get, but so there was a connection there anyways, and there was always a kayfabe connection to Beulah and Tommy. But anyways, she comes out because Lita had said some things about her, and they decide to make it a weird 6-person intergender clusterfuck. And I don't think they needed that. I think they should have just left it. And that's my one gripe, is that they should have just left it a tag match and left the women on the outside to distract or do spots or whatever, because that's really all they did. They were in the match, but they still only did spots until the end where, she ends up getting speared and pinned. So that's my one gripe. But this was, ECW as ECW can get.
No, you got to tell how they stepped it through, match, because to paraphrase, because I don't want to say it the way she did, when she comes out and she goes to Lita had just cut a really good promo as a heel, and Beulah comes out, well, since you like 3-ways, let's turn this into a 3-way, essentially. And just again, to go back to your Taz comment, some of the other promos and the crowd chants, that's what made this, you pop more oh, that's savage. You almost forget as a wrestling fan that WWE used to push the limits and used to hit those TV 14. This was TVMA, if you're more sensitive to that content. So it's a little bit more, obviously, no pun intended, extreme with language and other things. But this is what I think, as a wrestling fan, I liked, was they push the limits by hitting those little jabs. And so once in a while they'll bring it back, when Ronda Rousey and the Bellas feud, when they would tease certain things, Ronda Rousey telling Nikki Bella that she only got ahead because she knew John Cena, basically, to paraphrase. And I like when they bring those in, because it makes you care about what's going on. And like you said, they could have just fought outside and almost had, because Joey Styles had to yell his famous cat fight during the whole match. They could have just had their spots, because like you said, kind of felt like a cluster in that, because you knew that Edge and Foley and Terry Funk, they were going to be the stars of a Dreamer, that they were going to do, and you knew the ECW guys and Foley were going to do the crazy spots. You knew Terry Funk was going to kill himself because this is his 15th unretirement, and the spot with his eye bleeding, I don't know if at first it got cut and they just worked into the storyline, but he was just gushing blood. I don't know if he's on blood thinners or anything, but man, there's one point where there's a shot where they push him into the turnbuckle and his eye legit is squirting blood, and I had to look away for a second, oh, it's nasty.
Yeah, it was gnarly. And then the spot at the end where he had to be cut out of the barbed wire thing, he's yelling for people, and one of the ref or one of the trainers or whoever was trying to help push his arm out, and he's no, you gotta cut me out of here, because he was legitimately stuck in there.
Yeah, he was definitely intertwined. His arms all twisted. So definitely not for the faint of heart. And again, this was embodying ECW, like we kind of talked about it last ECW. If you don't like hardcore deathmatch style wrestling, this wasn't for you. This was definitely a deathmatch style where they were just shortening their careers by 20 years, and in Terry Funk's case, shortening his life by another 5. I don't want to hear the news about Terry Funk, because I know he's not in good shape right now. I can't believe what he put his body through for entertainment. It's just crazy to see. Tim said, he's 63 years old, and he's tangled in that barbed wire. And like you said, Roland, you got to cut me out. He's legitimately in pain. Like, you got to cut me out. Like, you can't leave me in here.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, so before that spot was when they had the fire spot too, which the back of Foley's shirt legitimately caught fire before he went into the barbed wire. So, like, I mean, there was some crazy stuff in this match.
No,
Yeah, there was definitely.
Match was definitely amazing. If you're a hardcore fan, this was an amazing match to watch. So far, it's my match of the night.
Well, and like Tim said, it wasn't like it was a 25-star classic in the Tokyo Dome that Dave Meltzer would have gotten hard and beat himself off with. One night stand. We have to go there. Dave Meltzer would have probably the one night stand with his hand. But anyways, it wasn't that style of match. It was an ECW. The fans there were. The fans the whole night were great. But they loved this match. You could tell they were invested in the type of match. The people and everybody knocks on Edge for being like a pretty boy and all this. Some of the stuff that Edge does in here, kudos to him, because if I were in his position, I don't know if I'd want to do it.
Yeah. Next up is another Extreme Rules match, and yes, we have to go here. It's Balls Mahoney from Nutley, New Jersey.
Balls.
He's gonna get a win over Masato Tanaka here. Quick match here. It was only 5 minutes. It wasn't a spectacular match. I think it was more so to keep the crowd going for the main event, leading up to Cena and RVD. Because Mahoney is really popular with the crowd, so I think it was a good choice to put this match here. It wasn't too long. It served its purpose to keep the crowd going for the main event. But the match itself wasn't really anything memorable to me.
Yeah, it was just, I think it was something to try to keep the fans going. I think it was kind of a let me up in a way, but something that the fans would be at least, invested in because of it being Balls Mahoney. But yeah, I think that it's tough because the match itself really wasn't like, it wasn't anything special. But the fans, for whatever reason, and having that cult following from ECW, you could tell that they were invested in balls, folks. But it served a purpose, and thankfully they didn't let it go too long, so that's good.
I mean, legend has it that Tanaka's still laid up by that freaking chair shot that Balls delivered at the end, because that was a gnarly chair shot. I mean, when I think chair shots, I think Cody Rhodes from Sean Spears. I think this chair shot and like the concertos, like his head went to his friggin' shoulders with that shot. And I'm surprised Eugene, when he came out after this, didn't have to like step over him, because like he was just laid out. And this is like the second pay-per-view, because I'm pretty sure that Tanaka the year before got his ass kicked too by Mike Awesome. I think that was on the year before he got his ass kicked. And it's funny. Fun fact: you guys know that Tommy Dreamer completely wrote and produced 05?
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
So kind of sense why this one didn't really maybe feel like it was ECW, kind of like the other one was. So I wonder if that had something to do with it, where Tommy Dreamer was more of a performer than backstage.
Yeah. Before we get to a main event, we have a segment that you cannot get away with today. You have Eugene come out and says he wants to hug everybody in the crowd. And there comes the Sandman, and Sandman just beats the crap out of him with kendo sticks. You can't get away. Well, you can't get away with the Eugene character today, and I don't think you could get away with this segment today. The only thing missing was you need Enter Sandman for the Sandman entrance. You can't have the generic music that they had. No, but it was a neat little segment for the crowd. But like you said, you just so much of it, or all of it, really, you couldn't do today.
So you take away Sandman's Enter Sandman music, and he's just hardcore hack.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what he is, and yeah, like
don't break Tim.
Yeah. Let's pump the brakes on the turnip truck here.
It's good. I'm not gonna go there.
The best part is that when Tim's reading this, both Mongo and I are waving at each other like Eugene was, like, Sandman, hi. Like, and again, I'm not trying to, that was like his gimmick. So like the whole time Sandman's standing there looking at him, he does it like 12 times, like waves at him, like waving at him, all, and again, he plays a special needs person. Nick Dinsmore was dealt probably one of the worst hands in professional wrestling and made something out of it. And again, like Tim said, it's something that you probably couldn't do today. Well, not even probably. You couldn't do this today. And for Eugene to do what he's done, to make that character relevant and to be able to keep it at that level where fans actually liked Eugene, kudos to him. But yeah, he does the special, more or less like a special child waving at Sandman over and over again to like get his attention. And then Sandman just, thwacks him with the Singapore King right across the eyes. And after that, it was no more. He's trying to get Eugene to beg for mercy, and just you, like Tim said, you could not do any of this today.
It's funny. Tim talked about the music, and the match before this, the Balls Mahoney instead of the Big Balls by AC/DC, it was like a terrible, like someone started to play the I've got big ball, and then like you can't play that quick. Generic entrance number 3 from SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Like it was the worst. And then I'm like, okay, the music can't get, here's Sandman's, what is this? Like that's the one problem, because ECW back in the day didn't care about licenses, and then WWE must have obviously, maybe in the live crowd, because I've heard rumors and read reports that in the live crowd they had the real music, so maybe they just didn't want to have to pay for licensing. I don't know, but I feel like at that point, don't be cheap, because even Tony Khan buys random ass songs for his wrestlers. Like, I'm sure you can make a deal. Tim, you're the ready guy. You know more than me on this. I'm sure you can make a deal. Just pay the friggin' license fee for one night only. Like, what is it really going to break the bank?
Well, they did it for CM Punk,
right?
Yep.
Well, and then it's interesting to think of, would that have made a difference? I mean, it was such a watered down ECW product when WWE had it. So like, do they want to pay the money to have it make no difference because the WWE was still going to screw it up some other way? So, I mean, I guess it's probably, would have been one more plus, but there's still it's like one step forward and 38,000 steps back, because that's what WWE does all the time.
Well, that's what I think my fantasy booking is. Just have it be an annual event, or hell, even just have it be once a month and then do the annual event. Like maybe once a month you have a super show where ECW not invades so much, but ECW is featured on a few matches of your brand, and for a warm-up for their pay-per-view, or do something. Just let Paul Heyman control. Like I think Vince, just like with NXT now starting to, he needs to get his paws of everything. And I understand that. If you own a company and you're making money, you want to control the assets, you want to control the revenue, blah, 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 blah. But you kill the product that people are passionate. I think this honestly was a starting point for a lot of fans, because 2006, 2007, 2008 kind of started going downhill for a lot of fans, because this is when they were almost transitioning to the PG era. Like this is the tail end of the Ruthless Aggression era. And, we have about 2 or 3 more years of the Ruthless Aggression era before it kind of goes to the PG era. And that's a way to turn off fans. Not only did you kill ECW, which is to this day you can still hear ECW chants in random arenas. I feel like that's one of the most over chants, is either CM Punk or ECW. Whenever you go to a live event, those are the 2 chants you always hear.
NXT too, though. Kudos to the fans for the the NXT chants also, because I think for a while NXT was kind of like ECW, where it had that cult following. It wasn't exposed on a national landscape. So it kind of felt underground, even though WWE was running it. Even the one difference was that Vince decided, he was like, "Hey, Paul, this is going to be your thing. I'm going to stay out of it. But when I want guys, you're just going to give them to me." And it's like, sure, Daddy-O, I'll do that, and we'll see where we go. And we've proven, we talked about it last week. We've proven how, unfortunately, it just never translates, and it sucks, because these guys, the ECW guys are over like hell. The NXT guys are over like hell 9 times out of 10 when they come up, and just nothing happens. It's just squandered opportunities. And it happened like Mongo said with the Invasion 01. It happened with the ECW rebrand here. It's happening with NXT now. It's a vicious cycle of Vince screwing stuff up.
And speaking of screwing up, you guys hear Triple H's media call, or some of the highlights from some of the comments he said about the women's division and women's pay-per-view?
I did hear the highlight saying that he didn't think that a women's pay-per-view would be equality for women. And it's like, wait, what?
You already did it.
Well, no, but that was his thing. And it's like, but wait, yeah, it would be, because how many women matches? I mean, there's more now, but how many pay-per-views dating back to when WWF was a thing? How many women's matches did they have? You were lucky if you had one on a card. So how is that not an all male pay-per-view? Like,
and I think the other comments he kind of made too, where he said, you know, if people wanted to work here, they would. Yeah, everyone wants to work here. And Britt Baker, love her. If you guys don't follow her on Instagram or social media, he said the best women in the world work in WWE, and if they don't, they should or they will. And Britt Baker posted a picture of her, Thunder Rosa, with a smiling face to that quote, and I just thought, like that's what I think is I'm getting worried that maybe he's getting that Vince of out of touchness. I hope it was a media call, him just kind of because he's promoting the show, and I'm not trying to shit on Triple H or NXT, but it kind of just goes that vicious cycle. Like I get worried because that corporate mindset. I mean, we've all worked corporate jobs here. We've all worked jobs with big executives, and unfortunately, the big problem is when you as you move up the ladder, there's either two types of people in every company. You have the person who remembers what it's like to be on the ground level. Like Triple H is a wrestler, so he thankfully will have a lot of those. I know what it's like to be in the trenches. And then you have the person who kind of just, they got lucky or they knew the right people and shot up in their upper management, you know, like Vince buying his daddy's company essentially, who doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's promoted and he's the one making money. So he makes the investors happy. So they're not going to do anything. And it's kind of why I feel like Triple H is he's getting really corporate. It's like, maybe he needs another WrestleMania match, get some sense knocked into him. Like, no, Triple H, you're starting to sound like Vince. That's scary.
So transitioning back to One Night Stand here, we have the main event, which is an Extreme Rules match for the WWE Championship. This is RVD's Money in the Bank cash-in. Rob Van Dam is going to get the title over John Cena here in about 21 minutes. Listen, the match was a good match, but I mean, I just want to talk about the crowd. The crowd made this match. That's the biggest takeaway from it for me. All the chants against Cena, they were great, and it was nice to see because you don't see that today. This type of a crowd in WWE. The crowd made the match. There was some shenanigans where Cena actually kind of, did some heel stuff where he knocked out the referee. They had an ECW referee to begin with. He didn't break the hold after RVD got to the ropes, which I don't understand because in an Extreme Rules match, the ropes shouldn't break the submission. But anyways, that
bugs me. I'm so glad you pointed that out.
Yeah. But after, then Nick Patrick comes in. Edge comes in disguised with this helmet on. He spears Cena, knocks out Nick Patrick. RVD hits the 5-star frog splash, and Heyman comes in and counts, and he's your new champion. So the crowd made it. There's a lot of shenanigans in it, which actually I found it entertaining. It wasn't. Sometimes shenanigans is overkill, but I actually didn't mind it. And but yeah, I can't say enough good things about the crowd in this match.
Well, and to be 100% fair, I feel like the Edge spot was unnecessary. Does it really hurt to have RVD beat Cena clean? Like, I mean, honest to God, like, does that really hurt Cena any? No, it's an ECW pay-per-view. It's in an ECW building. It's an ECW atmosphere. And for Cena to just be overwhelmed by the fan support of the ECW product and RVD, for him to lose, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But instead, they use it as a platform. And this is typical WWE garbage that they do today, is that they use it for a platform to build for something else, not realizing how much it's hurting the current thing. You didn't need Edge to get involved in this match to help RVD essentially win the title. You did not need that. Edge didn't help RVD win the damn Money in the Bank briefcase, so you just don't need it. And that's my one critique, is that, like Tim said, the match was just okay. It wasn't a terrible match. It wasn't a great match, but the crowd was so into it. The vulgar chants towards Cena, and I love the spot at the beginning where Cena throws his shirt in the ring out of the ring about 400 times, and the fans just keep throwing it back. And at one point, he asks the referee, like, he looks at the referee and says something to him close, and he's almost like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" It's like, how about you just throw the shirt on the outside, because no one wants your garbage. But so that's the one takeaway that I had from the match, is that it's unfortunate looking back on it. You don't need RVD to win the title that way. Let him win the damn thing clean in the middle. It doesn't hurt Cena. It rockets RVD to the moon. and it sets you up for ECW to start the following week.
Yeah, this was just cluster. Like, I'm not going to go too much on the correct. You said, like, I like the toilet paper spot too myself, and then the infamous "if Cena wins, we riot." So I don't understand the shirt throwing either. I remember watching it back in the day. Glenn was over my house. We were watching it, and Glenn kind of said the same thing. I'll never forget. He's like, "Why isn't he just throwing it on the floor?" It's like his fourth time throwing it in the crowd. It's almost like, why does Ryback keep posting polls of retirement and complaining people are voting retirement?
And then hold on. And then he's like, I got rid of all the riffraff, and I'm gonna do the poll again, and it still wants him to fucking retire.
So it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like wiping before you poop. Why would you keep doing it? Like,
Yeah, right, yeah.
It just. And also, speaking of that, in 2020, like, can you imagine it's pay-per-view in 2020? They'd be a lot of 12 pay-per-view being thrown because everyone's stocked up on that shit. But like, it was just, and then Paul Heyman coming in, and then I'm pretty sure, you correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but didn't they announce him as like the ECW champion?
Yeah.
But he was the WWE champion. It was WWE. That's why I was confused. I'm like, I feel like they didn't know what to do when he won. They're like, oh, you're the WWE ECW champion, and then it was like a celebration, which was great. But I'm like you said, he could have won clean. And it was a hardcore match. He could have beaten the hell out of Cena with weapons. And then that's why Cena lost. But this is when fans hated Cena, not because he was a bad wrestler, even though the ECW crowd told you he was. It was because he was Super Cena. He was burying people with the golden shovel. He was being shoved down our throats. And this was it. They had to protect Super Cena, but you could easily protect him. You could have RVD give him a Van Daminator with a friggin' chair, and then 5-star frog splash him with a chair and pin him clean, like you said. Well, not clean, but clean ECW rules.
Well, and here's my thing too, right? So fantasy booking, the way it should have happened, in my mind, if you're gonna have somebody interfere, it needs to be an ECW guy. It doesn't need to be fucking Edge. Like, that makes no, like, other than furthering a storyline on WWE TV, it does nothing. It should have been an angry Tommy Dreamer, it could have been Raven. I don't give a shit. Pick somebody who's an ECW guy. Don't pick Edge. That'd be like the same thing as sending out friggin' Triple H. Like, why? Like, it makes no sense. If you send out Tommy Dreamer, a guy who just lost to a WWE wrestler, to then vengefully take the title from a WWE guy, holy fuck, look at that. It makes sense. But to send out Edge, all that does is further a storyline on WWE TV that's no payoff for the ECW brand. So they're already burying the ECW brand before it's even gotten going.
They could have used Big Show since they just made him go to ECW, and it would have made more sense.
Kurt Angle, Kevin Thorne, I don't give a shit. Johnny Nitro, like, well, whatever. Pick somebody. I don't care.
Well, here's a thought, and I just noticed this too, like, because after the match, RVD was celebrating with all the ECW wrestlers, but friggin' Bill Alfonso was there. Why wasn't Bill Alfonso with RVD at ringside throughout this match? I mean, I hate Bill Alfonso with that stupid whistle. It drives me. But still.
Every time ECW, Tim gets red ass with a whistle. I love it.
Yeah.
At least it's not WCW 2000.
That's true. But why is Bill Alfonso? He could interfere and do something. Like, he was there. Why not use him?
Yeah. No, and like I said, it would have made even more sense to have somebody like Dreamer come out. He just lost a match to two WWE guys.
Yeah.
Got screwed. Like, so his thing would have been like, well, fuck you, WWE. We're taking your belt. You might have beat me in a match, but we're taking your belt. And Dreamer is the face of ECW. So, like, but Edge just like spear. It's like, what the, like, why? Like,
and he was hiding under the ring the whole time, apparently.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, that's what's hard about this pay-per-view. Like, it had some decent matches, but this was WWE storyline 101. This was like, I hate WWE finishes because I feel like their finishes are just throw that paper in the basket. The middle basket is a clean finish, and anything outside the basket is we're going to make it up on the fly. And I feel like they just have Shaquille O'Neal throwing that in the basket because they are just, everything's a wonky finish. And I don't understand, like, this is ECW, like Tim said earlier. There's no friggin' rules, and there's a rope break. Like, I was literally like twitching on the couch. I'm like, why? It's a no disqualification match. Why is there a rope break? This makes no sense. I'm being insulted again.
Meanwhile, the Fiend's like, wait, what? The match is over? It just shows you, like, I get, like, in theory, like, that's the problem with having people like Pritchard and Johnny Ace and all these guys that are yes men. Nobody looks at the big picture and goes, wait, wouldn't it make more sense if we did this? Instead, they're like, yeah, boss, that's good. And they do it. And it's like, that's cool and everything because you want to keep your job. But like, think of the grand picture. Like right now in WWE, you don't have very many people that are like a Shawn Michaels or like an Austin who could tell Vince, this is how I'm doing it. Whether you want me to do it or not, this is how I'm doing it. It makes more sense to do it this way. Austin went heel for no reason. And it was probably the worst move of his career. But he wanted to do it, not Vince. That was his. You don't have anybody like that at now, even remotely close to being able to pull their own punches. But at this point, Cena had the thing strapped, to the moon. Even he had to think this was garbage. I would think. I mean, I don't know, but how do you bury a company that you're getting ready to promote on sci-fi, whatever you want to call it, Mongo? And how do you haven't even started yet? You've already buried the fucking thing by making the crowning moment of this pay-per-view mean absolutely nothing. Like that's the worst part, is that you had the chance to be like, you know what? You brought your belt here and the ECW originals stole your shit. And now we have it on our show to start off like the next, that's how this should have went. Not Edge helping them.
And if they were smart, they literally could have booked this for 5 months leading up to a Survivor Series to WWE versus ECW, like a winner take all. Like maybe they could have had it where ECW started taking all the belts to their show, make their show mean something. But Vince doesn't think of that because all he cares about, they don't even care about the face and heel dynamic anymore. Like if you think about a face or a heel, like Tim said, John Cena was doing heel moves in this match and he was the face. But they were like, oh, he's getting booed. He needs to get cheap heat. He doesn't need to get cheap heat. He's a hated face. Like it's like what they do with Charlotte Flair now. Like Charlotte Flair is female Cena. Like change my mind. Charlotte Flair is John Cena of this generation.
Hey, at least they didn't go with the Woo Bros.
That's true.
They went with RK Bro instead.
Probably still doing better. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm popular opinion. RK Bro sucks.
Dude, hold on. Sidebar though. How funny is it? And I about lost my shit watching Randy Orton hide this imaginary key in his boot on Monday night. I'm sitting on the couch and I'm like, oh my God, he's stuffing an imaginary key in this fucking boot. I'm like, this is great. And even Randy probably has to be like, what the fuck is this hokey horse shit? It got me. Like I'm watching it. I'm giggling out loud on the couch because even Orton's like, Riddle zips his mouth, puts the key in his hand, and Orton shoves it in his boot. And I'm like, he just put his imaginary key in his boot. Yeah, I don't know. like I said, like we say every episode, we could probably make a whole episode just of us of like critiquing WWE, but obviously we'll probably get like one download because I'm sure no one's going to want to listen to what we all know is true. I mean, well, and I think that's the biggest thing with like why we stay away from the more modern stuff, unless it's a prediction show, because no offense to WWE. Well, no, you know what? Hot take. Offense to WWE. No one wants to hear about it. The stuff from the last 5 years or so, there's a few good things sprinkled in, but the rest of it's fucking trash. So like nobody wants to hear it. That's why our shows on TNA, on AEW, on some of the WCW stuff are our more popular shows because WWE's product is fucking garbage. And that whether Vince wants to hear it or not, or whatever, or if Bruce wants to tell Vince or doesn't have the balls to tell Vince, some of the shit they're doing wouldn't even get over in the 80s. Like that's how bad this and it was hokey as shit back then. It's just so. And again, I know we're way off topic and whatever, but like that's the gist of it, is that the fans that we have that listen to this show, they want to hear our thoughts and our takes on the stuff, but they also want to listen to something that doesn't suck. And that's the biggest thing, is that it's hard from the last like 4 or 5 years because some of the stuff sucks so bad.
No, it's true. Like, we joked in a previous episode, Brock Lesnar winning the Money Bank. And again, please, Vince, it's not an idea. That's not a wish. That's a fear.
Goddamn, pal.
But, we joke about that. But this card, going back to it, I feel like it's WWE's problem in a nutshell. It's all this potential, and then it just fizzles out. Like, Vince blows up a balloon and the balloon is the product, and then he doesn't tie the knot. He walks away like, it's funny, it's floating in the sky. Like and he's like, we've been on TV for 30 years. Okay, So hasn't The Simpsons, but I stopped watching them 20 years ago. Like, it doesn't matter your longevity. It doesn't matter. It matters what you put out. And that, I agree. Like, that's why I think I enjoy talking with you guys about AEW or TNA, like, you know, not to steal Tim's thunder for next week, but I like that we can go back to the products because it keeps my passion for wrestling alive. Because if WWE was the only game in town, I don't think I'd be watching wrestling because they don't even watch wrestling. They don't even like wrestling. I'm thankful there's alternatives in the past and thankfully in the future, because that's what's going to happen. Is these other products are going to grow because people are going to go away from WWE because they don't want to watch, like you said, this hokey Alexa Bliss puppet shit. They don't want to watch ECW pay-per-view that's not ECW, that's ECW light. They want to watch wrestling, and there was little wrestling in this pay-per-view. It was definitely nostalgia. It was a fan service, but I'd give this like a 5, and that's being generous, and that's because the crowd bumps it up 4 stars.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's definitely middle of the road, and you wipe off the Funk, Dreamer, Foley, Edge match. You wipe that off. Say that wasn't on the card. It's like a 2. Like, that's how bad this show was, and it's not a knock on the performers because some of the matches were actually pretty good. The problem with it, like Mongo just said, is that WWE made it WWECW. That was the problem. If they had let Heyman run it like it was the old ECW, and you know they're not on, you know, like a network per se, they're not on Fox, they're not on mainstream, they could have got away with some of this stuff. Even if they had to air it at 10 o'clock to be safe because some of the stuff might have been a little edgy or whatever, it's still better than the deal that ECW had with TNN and the stuff they had before all of this. So it would have worked if they had done it right, because like Tim said at the very beginning, these fans that were ECW original fans would come to watch. You could lead a horse to water.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. Well, that's what Vince did. He's like, oh, well, fuck, I can get him there, and then I'll just force him to watch this garbage. And it's like, no, they don't want to watch this fucking garbage. And that's what it is. And that's what it is today. That's what it was then.
All you have to do too is you do what AEW does. They play these smaller arenas because they know that they don't have the popularity probably as WWE. I mean, they're growing, but you book this ECW product in smaller arenas, which that's what ECW is. That's what their niche is. And there's a way to handle it, and you don't have to WWE-ize it, if that's a word.
Well, and that's the thing too. If you're worried about it ruining because the company is now, you know, traded worldwide, if that's what you're worried about, it's a corporately owned company. If that's your big worry, then you literally have no association with the WWE other than the fact that you own it. You just break it off, call it a legitimate third brand, and let them do their own goddamn thing that people want to see.
All you had to do is make it a parent company. That's all you had to do. You know, you could use it like another farm system. Have the ECW originals be the veterans to push their own guys. NXT, you know, what they had and what they could have been a great where they featured some ECW originals, even as coaches, because some of these guys, and I hate the criticisms of ECW yet because, they were hardcore, and some people call it junk wrestling, which I think is an insult. But some of these guys could still go in the ring. And even if they made a hardcore match, some of the stuff they did, personally, I wouldn't be in a wheelchair just looking, because I can't imagine taking some of the shots, like falling off a ladder through 5 flaming tables on a concrete. Like, there's no way that's not going to suck. There's no way that's not going to suck. And then you're one slip away from you killing yourself, legitimately killing yourself. And it's almost like Vince is spitting in the face to that. Like, I get it. You don't understand it, but you know what? Like you said, the ECW fans are passionate. And they get it. That's why they went away. That's why they went to Ring of Honor. That's why they went to New Japan. That's why, you know, they're coming back to the AEW. That's why some of them don't even watch wrestling, because they want the glory days, and they want when they actually cared about the fans and listened to the fans. Paul Heyman at the beginning of this pay-per-view, like we said earlier, was talking about how great the fans are, because wrestling is nothing without the fans. And I will go there, because look at this pandemic era. Like we keep beating this to death, but look at the first pay-per-views in the crowd since the fans have come back. It's more electric. And I'm going to go on record, and I've said this on the podcast before, WB is going to have hot attendance through the summer, but by February, by March next year, if they're still putting out these kind of products, it's going to dwindle down to like it was before, like the Great Balls of Fire, when they had to literally tarp off 90% of the friggin' arena. and move everybody to the front row to not look pitiful. Because like Tim said, you can't shoot for 50, 60,000 fans all the time if you have garbage, but sell out a 10,000 seat arena. Go back to the Verizon Wireless in our hometown area, like where you can pull off selling 20,000 seats. You're not going to sell it. Like, I don't know how they're going to sell at SummerSlam in Vegas, short of basically giving tickets away with other things, because that's a huge stadium. And right now with this current product, I don't know. And if it's pretty sad that this is 15 years ago, and 15 years later, we're almost still dealing with the same thing of an out of touch old man with ready for an audience of one.
And Vegas is not a wrestling town. It never has been. It never will be. It's an attraction based area.
Yeah.
So that's our rundown of One Night Stand 2006.
More importantly, Tim, what did you give it? Did you give us your grade?
I would give it a 6, just because of the crowd and the Foley Edge match.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably give it a 6.
Okay, I just wanted you to get that in there. Usually you give your grade. We went off the tracks a little bit.
You guys are screwing me up here.
Hey, you know what? You had a vacation where you did whatever you were supposed to do to recharge and whatever the reincarnation and whatnot. You should be on it, man.
Look, you're the radio guy. We're just the handsome gentleman to come. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm clearly not.
Wow.
I was just gonna say we're just the two assholes that talk, and Tim's like the producer / radio guy. We're just like we're like Sideshow Bob. We're like
I realized how it came out, Tim. That wasn't supposed to be a shot of you. That's late night delirium.
No, it's okay.
Hey,
all right.
you remember the time when Tim wasn't here and Mongo fucked everything up?
Just remember, I controlled the blooper reel. So
yeah, you also control the link too, because clearly, like Roman just said, when I tried to produce.
Next week, guys, we're transitioning back to 2005 TNA. You guys seem to really like the TNA episode, so we're going to cover Slammiversary for you, which is their like big show. Not Paul White, but so looking forward to covering that. The TNA shows have been pretty decent so far, and you guys seem to like them. So that's what's coming up for you guys next week.
The difference is that TNA, if you listen to any of Jeff Jarrett's podcasts, I suggest you do, because TNA is and was at the time a true alternative to the garbage we were getting. We just discussed this. So that's the cool thing, is to go back to 05. It's a year before this One Night Stand. But like, if this continues where you guys like this, we'll do it again next year, where we'll pick a year that matches up with next year's dates. And once a month, we'll just do a TNA show. Because if you guys are liking it, we're liking it. The wrestling's been really good. Why not?
No, I agree. I mean, based on the analytics, I mean, AEW, I want to say thank you too, because AEW Double or Nothing 2019 2021 was our most downloaded episode. That's actually surpassed the first episode, which is insane to me to think. But it shows, like Roland said earlier, not to go back on it, but it shows that you guys definitely enjoy the alternative content. And TNA is, what AEW is now. It was the alternative. It was the place to go when you were sick of getting insulted. And I'm excited to go back to 2005. And if you guys like this, please make sure you're telling your friends about us. You can go to www.pap.com. All the links are there. You click on the listen button. I fixed the links. Now all you have to do is just click the button. It'll open the app if you have the app. We're on Alexa. You can tell Alexa to play us.
Maybe.
I got it to work.
Not to work? Okay.
I got it to work. It's a little thing, but yeah, so wherever you can listen, we're on there. So
Tim,
we had
Tim's like any of these people that watch Big Bang Theory. Tim's like Kripke, where like there's the episode where he's trying to talk to Siri and he's like, Siri doesn't get any of this, and he's like, I don't understand what you're saying, Bowie, and all this stuff, and it won't play. Apparently Tim is that issue where like doesn't recognize what you're trying to say, apparently.
No, but also, I'm sure you saw on our socials, we want to thank you. 1,000 episodes, 10 countries, like
1,000 downloads.
1,000 downloads, excuse me. I'm just still blown. It feels they've listened to over 1,000, so we'll go back.
That's true.
So yeah, 1,000 downloads. We're in 10 countries. Like I'm blown away. I definitely want to say thank you and keep spreading the word, because the more people listen to us, the more we can beat these stupid algorithms, and word of mouth is the best way for us to grow. And please like and follow. And if you want to leave us a review, we've gotten some great feedback, and I got some good feedback on the website. That's why I changed it. So now when you go to the homepage, the episodes are playing right there in an embedded player. So tri-mix season. We're trying to make better content for you. We really enjoy it, and I have fun every week.
And that's the biggest thing, is that we're doing all of this for us too, but we're also doing this for you guys. So again, feedback's huge. Anything you can, give us that you think, even if it's a critique, just tell us and we'll do what we can to, go to change some things. And you got to remember too, Mongo, your numbers of 1,000 downloads, there's probably people that listen to it that don't download it too, because you don't always have to download it. So to the people that don't download it and still listen, thank you to you guys too, because I'm sure there's some of you out there, because I know when I listen to either Pritchard's or whatever, I don't download, I just listen to it.
Yeah.
So
no, my sentiments is actually just, thank you for, making this grow. I mean, we started, like I said before, we started this in my living room with a crappy microphone, and we've grown to, a somewhat decent microphone. But, just thank you. This is a lot of fun for us to do. And, I enjoy doing it. So.
You guys are fucking awesome. Like that's the easiest way to sum it up. I mean, anybody that listens to this and likes it and then listens to it the next week, you guys are fucking awesome. Like the people that don't, I mean, I don't mind if someone comes in, doesn't like it and doesn't, but if you do that, tell us why you don't like it and we'll see if we can change it. But the people that are listening to us or taking a chance on us and listening to it, you guys rock. Seriously.
I agree. Not much Wickman said. Perfect words.
One more thing before we go, I do want to mention this. If you listen to our intro, you know that Gangrel does a shout out for us. He's got a new podcast that I can't wait to check out. I just want to promote it real quick. Just as a thank you for him doing the shout out. It's called Fangin' and Bangin' with Gangrel. It's on YouTube and Spotify. So just, I think that's going to be an awesome podcast. Can't wait to check out the first episode. I'm not sure when it debuts. He has just a little teaser on there right now. But keep your eyes out for that as well. And so we will be back next week with TNA Slammiversary 05. Everybody have a fantastic week. We will see you next week. So until then, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Roland Fulis.
And I'm Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present.
ECW, ECW, ECW.
I hope you're all having a nice day.